Good morning. Join me this morning on Banks, my local river ouse, on what could actually be called the calm before the storm session, I believe. It's supposed to get quite rough and very, very wet. So I'll sort of get out here, go on the bank for about sort of 7 o'clock, half 7, find myself somewhere to fish and get all settled up, and if we only have a few hours, we only have a few hours. Beautiful roach, look at that, absolute gorgeous fish. Not a bad start at all. So like I say, I'm down on the ouse, long 10-mile bank. Got my umbrella up, as you can see, a little bit of comfort, so if the wind does get up, I've got it pegged down, and hopefully I will get a little bit of shelter. Chosen to use 13-foot rod today because we've had a lot of rain this week. Did pull the other day. It's not moving as such hardly at the moment, but that could well pick up during the day, so I think the longer rod, especially with the wind, I can sort of punch it out there and hit the clip every single time is where I want to be. So I'm still, even with the 13-foot rod, I'm not fishing heavy. So I've got CR10 13-foot number 2. I've got an 1.5-inch tip. I've got normal CS4000, 6-pound shock leader, 5-pound mainline. I've got a helicopter rig, and as you can see there, I've actually got the 2 stops tight together, so it's almost like a bolt rig. And I've just got a 28-gram ounce small Nisa feeder, little twizzled loop there, hanging the feeder off the rig. And I've got some 012 Comet King down to a size 16, one of the new Matrix, I can't remember the patterns. New Matrix, it is the MXB2 size 16. I'm clipped up sort of 3 parts away across the river. It's in that deep water in that channel. I'm actually starting using double fluoro. So I've had that roach there, I've had another roach as well. So I'll get it back out there. Double fluoro. A few casters in the ground bait, which I'll go through in a minute. Get this back out there. You're saying 3 parts the way over. Sink the line. There, we're on the bottom. So I've got some casters. I've got some reds. I've got some fluoros. And I've got some other fluoros which I've sort of put a little bit of extra dye on myself as well. The ground bait is Bait Tech Pro Natural Bream Dark in Special G green, so you got that sort of dark, sort of olivey green mix. Bit of fish meal, I think, a little bit of colour in the water. I always tend to use a little bit of fish meal, not a lot, so I've got a bag of the dark and half a bag of green. Rowers, got a fish on with rowers coming. Feels like a better fish as well. Oh, it's a skimmer. So we'll just get this hopefully in the net. Not a bad little start. So we might get 1 or 2 skimmers today. Like I say, we've had that rain, it's got a tinge of colour. Ah, beautiful skimmer. Middle of the top lip. Beautiful Bernard. Lovely fish. So like I say, before was rudely interrupted by that skimmer. I've got some fluoro maggots, and I've actually put a little bit of sort of fluoro dye on them as well. A little bit of water. Left them in a bag overnight. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of a pink mess there, but one or two of those maggots have actually taken that dye on, and they float. So with a size sort of 16 or a 14 hook, quite a long hook length, they sort of waft through the water a little bit. Had a lot of bream with that sort of towards the end of the season, fishing that way. And whenever there's any colour or any chance of any bream, I always do a few like that. So like I say, I've got the ground bait, that Pro Natural Bream Dark Special G green. I've got some casters in with it. Not putting any worm in at all. When I fished last week, I put some worm in, and I went a good 2 hours, probably 2.5 hours before I had a proper bite. So I've laid off the worm this week. I've got some by the side of me, if I need to. You know, sort of chop a few up or use on the hook. But I'm going to stick with the maggot. Sort of feel my way in a little bit. I've put 4 of those out. Sort of half with ground bait and half with casters. So there's a fair few casters out there. I did put a few maggots out as well. Then I'm just going to put a tiny pinch of casters in with the ground bait every time I go out. So I'm not using a big feeder. I can step up if I need to, but I'm using an ounce and just going to feel my way in just to see what's around. If I do start to get 1 or 2 skimmers that size, you know, I may chop up a little bit of worm just to see if there is any, you know, might entice 1 or 2 bit better fish into the area as well. As it stands, it's a good start. Like I say, I'd had a couple of roach sort when I started. Had that fish and had that nice skimmer there. So it's a decent start, and hopefully might be able to get 1 or 2 fish in the net before the somewhat apocalypse is forecast to arrive, which is round about midday, I believe, midday onwards. So the sun's out at the moment. It's absolute sort of beautiful morning. So it's October the 31st, so it's Halloween. And yeah, so it's November the 1st tomorrow, which is hard to believe really. I think with the year everybody's had, it can't come soon enough to come to an end. Say that peg, sort of lovely peg. So got 1 or 2 features over, but like I say, I'm fishing 3 parts of the way. Sort of in that deep channel log, you know as I like to fish. Fish just topped out there. Well, you'll see where I'm fishing. I'll just put another maggot on. I had a little bite. You'll see whereabouts I'm casting. Hopefully, anyway. Just sort of clipped up there. Sink the line. I know that I've got, when the feeder's going through the water, is about a count of 20. So just as I'll get to 19, I'll sort of bring the rod back round. And what that does, that straightens the whole rig out. Say it's right there straight away. I believe it straightens the whole rig out. Straight away, boy. Little roach probably. So I can chop and change between sort of a floating maggot in one sinking maggot, just to give it a different different fall through the water. You know, double caster as well. Small piece of worm. Sort of chop and change. Once you find what the fish want, sort of stick with it. See how you go from there. I'll get my head down. See if we start sort of have some regular casts, see if we get 1 or 2 fish feeding. And I'll check in with you in a bit, and hopefully Hurricane Hugema flip wouldn't have arrived. See how we get on. We're catching 1 or 2 roach. Had a small hand-sized skimmer and perch. We still get 1 or 2 bites. Roach, beautiful fish. Look at that lovely roach. So I've been chopping and changing between double fluoro and double red maggot. I've had a couple of roach on caster as well. I have sort of bumped off 1 little bit better fish. Didn't feel right when I struck into it. Yeah, just hoping that the old rain might, wind and rain might just sort of hang back a little bit today. There was a toss-up between Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday's won the day for me this weekend. Some of the bites are only very tiny taps. You know, I think I sort of said before on previous videos, if you think it's a bite, you know, strike. You know, don't wait for it to develop, because sometimes it won't, and that small indication is exactly what it needs to be striking at. Beautiful colours. So it's always been a sort of good month, October, for catching some roach. It's got a tiny tinge of colour in the water, which is, just been talking to my mate Craig on the phone, and that tiny tinge of colour is all that the water needs around here, just to spur it into life. If you get a nice little bit of movement in colour, then there's a good chance you could get the odd bream. Like I say, it's got a tinge, a little bit of movement, not a lot. Sit with the rod across me, because some of the bites have been quite quick, but sort of the last sort of 15-20 minutes they have eased back a little bit. I think they're definitely doing something with the water. Just been very vigilant. It's like I say, the tiniest indication. Sometimes all you need. I was hoping we'd had a lot more movement on the water today. We did have a fair drop of rain sort of Thursday. I mean, as closer you go back towards Ely, you can have a bit more colour, a little bit more pace, a little bit narrower in Ely town. A lot more boat traffic to keep it coloured up. There is a fair amount of colour in the lark waiting to come out as well. Definitely overcast today. Always say that bream conditions, rough and overcast. Well, it's rough and it's overcast. You never know. So I always would love to know when you're fishing here in this deep water, you know, what is actually in front of you. It'd always be interesting to know. Much roach. Beautiful fish. Still get one or two. They have sort of waiting a bit longer for a bite now. Missed several as well, sort of decent sort of pull rounds, so probably liners. Haven't seen a sign of another skimmer or anything, so it's got a little bit more movement than before. Bit better fish. Hopefully the predator will leave this one alone. I've had a little bit of predator action. So it could be maybe a skimmer or a hybrid. It's perch. How wrong could I be? That beautiful perch. Don't get a bit weak. Lovely stripey. He's actually been attacked by something there as well. It's a bit longer to get a bite that time, but say a little bit better fish. I have tried the worm, but sort of just had a small perch, so sticking with the maggot. It's starting to gust a little bit now. You see over there with the old trees, it's definitely starting to blow up a little bit. I'm still getting 1 or 2 bites. So I think like I say, it's got that tinge of colour, but it looks as though it's actually starting to drop out a little bit now. A little skin. Actually, that's a little hybrid. Took a liking to the double fluoro. Still putting castor in the mix every time I go out. Not much, only 3 or 4. So I've had a little bit of predator action about sort of 15 minutes ago. Felt a bit better roach as well, which whether it was a pike or a small sounder, just sort of off the pads onto the wall there. A few fish about still. So it's just followed it down, had a bite straight away there. Little roach. Absolutely beautiful fishing. Say, not complicated, just sort of keeping it simple, keeping it tight, keep it going in the same place, chop and change between the hook baits, keep the bites and keep the fish coming as well. Or say, if you keep, like say, get some fish feed in, that's always, might drag one or two better fish in as well. Only time will tell. Please go away, wind. Hold with that time. Hooked the wrong way round. Oh. That's it. Little hybrid. I'm literally onto a single maggot now. Get regular bites again. Start missing one or two on a double. Single on and start to hit one or two again. Morning catching mainly all roach. I've had that one nice skimmer, a few smaller ones, got the hybrids, a couple of little perch. It's been mainly all roach on the maggot. is now the time for me to start packing up and head off for home. So from a very wet and blustery 10-mile bank, I'll catch you next time on the bank. Hopefully it'll be a little bit drier and a little bit calmer. So if you are out this weekend, take care, look after yourself, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time on the bank. Oosh. Yee. There you go. A few hours. Nice roach there. Got one sort of nice skimmer. We've got some lovely roach, sort of not round about that sort of size. Beautiful few hours now. Going to pack up in the rain and get off home on the sofa, in the dry, in the warm. Catch you next time on the bank. Boosh!